got a bidet! Hey everybody, and welcome back for another video. In today's video, we're talking about the next episode from the Bad Batch Season 2. This week was a very, very different tone from last week. So we're going to go ahead and talk about what happened in the show and then talk about our thoughts. And then it'll be up to you whether you go out and watch it. So, Sarah, what happened this week on the Bad Batch?
Okay, so we start out on the planet of Desix. And there is an Imperial governor that has arrived to essentially take control of the planet. But instead, as most rebels do, they don't go peacefully. So that Imperial governor is taken hostage by the insurgents demanding that they be recognized as an independent planet. We skip over to Crosshair, actually on an Imperial base. And he is tasked with basically pretending to go to Desix, or he's going to go there to pretend to negotiate, but really he's just there to rescue their new Imperial governor. Commander Cody is actually the commander who requested that Crosshair be assigned to his group. We also learned that Crosshair was stuck on Kamino for 32 rotations before he was rescued. We don't know how long a rotation is, at least I don't think, but I would assume a day. So about a month he was there by himself.
Yep.
The governor of Desix, she's a pretty smart cookie, so she knows something's up. She knows the Imperials aren't coming over to negotiate. So she sets out her battle droids to take the ships down, and right as they prepare to land. But we have some of our Imperial troops kind of hiding in the back of the ship, so it looks like they're down, but they're not really down. Crosshair's too smart for that. He makes an awesome shot down the barrel of one of their tanks and explodes one of their tanks. That was pretty cool. We've got quite a bit of battle scene going on throughout this episode. We've got the clones on one side, right, with Crosshair and Commander Cody and all the other clones with them, versus the battle droids. So we haven't seen these guys in quite a while. We even get to see some droidicas, which if you don't know what that is, because I didn't know their name either, I recognize them from Battlefront, the old school one from PlayStation. But they are the battle droids that have like the big shield orbs around them. So I thought that was pretty cool to see those.
Roly-poly-oly dudes.
Yeah. Crosshair.
Can I interject with one quick thing there?
Go for it.
Like Sarah's telling you what happened, but I also want to kind of paint what the atmosphere was kind of like with this, because droidicas were a very scary droid to deal with in the wars, just because they were really hard to take down, and honestly they are in the video games too. But during that scene, they're like kind of in the building and they can just hear the whirling of them approaching them. They have no idea where they're coming from, so it was kind of a very scary moment for them, because you can hear the monsters coming, but you don't know from where and how close they are. And so the atmosphere of that part was really, really cool. But I digress.
Yeah, they're trying to storm the building, right? Because they want to rescue their governor. So Crosshair and Commander Cody, they go up this basically a tower stairwell, if you will, looking for the commander who's in charge of the battle droids, because if they can take that one out, all the battle droids won't know who to follow orders from. So they'll basically, the thought is that the battle droids will just stop fighting, which would make it a lot easier to get their governor, right? So there's a bit of a scuffle in the stairwell. We see Crosshair getting choked out at one point. He's okay. But he got wounded, I think, from the fall of falling. Commander Cody helped get rid of the droid that was choking him, but they were in a stairwell, so he fell down a few stairs and got kind of wounded from that. So in the middle of this scuffle, we also see Crosshair has these weird reflective pucks. They almost look like little circular mirrors that he can throw in the stairwell. And because it's a circular stairwell, you can't really see past, let's say 5 feet of stairs. But he throws these reflective pucks there, and now he can shoot that reflective puck, and it will bounce the beam of his blaster up further into the stairwell. So now he's able to have more range, even though he's in a very confined space. So I thought that was pretty cool. We have just making sure I see where I am in my notes. So Crosshair's down, right? But he's not out. He's, able to talk and stuff. He's just not very mobile, not very quick. And so he orders Commander Cody to throw this reflective puck basically as far up in the stairwell as he can so that he can make this, I'm going to call it a trick shot, to be able to get the commander of the battle droids. So we see Commander Cody throw this puck, and it's flipping like you would throw a coin, and the coin would flip and spin, right? But somehow, because TV, Crosshair is able to shoot one puck in the stairwell that then reflects off the puck that Commander Cody threw. And then after it reflects off of that one, then it hits the commander droid, who's in charge of all the droids, right? So he goes down, or that droid goes down, if you will, and the rest of the droids, I guess, just kind of give up or aren't there anymore. We don't really see them anymore. So either they just, I don't know really what happened to them. They just deactivated, they stopped following orders. Do you have any kind of explanation for that, Jeremy?
When he did the trick shot, it hit the dude that was controlling them, and he was controlling them with like a touchpad, iPad looking thing. So my guess
do you think
is
they all powered off?
my guess is just they weren't given any orders. They
Mm.
weren't told to do anything.
Okay. Yeah, so by that time, Commander Cody gets up to the top of the stairwell. Crosshair's not far behind him, but again, he's wounded, so he's pretty slow. The governor of Desix is holding the Imperial governor at gunpoint, and Cody promises a peaceful parting if she releases the Imperial governor, because that's really what she wants. She wants peace. She doesn't want fighting. We have kind of a heartfelt moment between her and Commander Cody of, we're supposed to bring order to the galaxy. We're not supposed to just kill everybody. I'm tired of wars, kind of a thing. So he puts down his weapon, and the current governor of Desix, she releases the new Imperial governor, assuming that they're just going to be on their way then and maybe deal with this another time. But as soon as she lets that new potential governor go, he orders Commander Cody to shoot her or to take her out. Which, as Crosshair says earlier in the episode, good soldiers follow orders, except when they have a brain, right? Commander Cody really doesn't want to do this, especially because he just told her, I promised a peaceful parting. And while he's having his back and forth with the governor of not wanting to follow this order, Crosshair shoots her, so she goes down. We have one more kind of little scene, or I guess kind of two more little scenes, right? One is a little discussion later, like back at their base, between Commander Cody and Crosshair. Jeremy, do you want to say what they said? Because I know this was pretty powerful for you.
For Cody and Crosshair,
Yeah.
they were, so I don't know if you mentioned this yet, but there's a couple of very connection type things that we get to our world, so to speak, but we get to see it in the Star Wars world. One of them is for this scene in particular, and it is a wall of names. And I'm assuming this wall is kind of like, when you go to a veterans park and you see all the different soldier names of the people who died, probably from the area or just in general. They're standing in front of this wall just looking at all the names of different clones that have passed, and they're having this moment together where I, it's right after the scene where um, Crosshair, that's his name, had shot the governor, and Cody was basically saying to him, because Crosshair reemphasizes that good soldiers follow orders type deal. Well, Cody was saying, well, do you know the difference between us and droids? And Crosshair didn't really have an answer for it, and uh, basically Cody was saying, we get to make our own decisions, uh, but we have to live with them. And so, what was powerful about that is that these clones, like if you followed with the Clone Wars show and whatnot, we know that these clones are born, bred, and raised to be superior to droids because they are human and they're not just these robots that are doing what they're told. But yet Cody's making a comparison of, Crosshair, you're kind of no better than a droid if all you're going to do is what your orders are. So now uh, Crosshair has to live with the fact that he basically murdered somebody for no reason. And he probably is going to, throughout the show, kind of reflect on what's going on with what Commander Cody told him. Did you want to say what there was one other scene that happened here?
Yep, I'll go ahead and finish it out here. Thank you. I didn't even notice that wall behind them or what the significance of that was, so I'm glad that you were able to touch on that.
Yeah,
Um,
I even saw there's some Star Wars fans out there that are using their translators to decode all the different names. I'm not that guy. I don't have that much time, so I'm not gonna sit here and do that. Um, but yeah, go ahead.
yeah, so our last scene to close out the episode is Crosshair getting called back to Vice Admiral, or the Vice Admiral. I don't know. I don't remember. I didn't catch his name. But anyway, so he's giving him a new mission, and he asks why he's reporting to some other commander instead of Commander Cody. And the Vice Admiral tells him that basically Cody went AWOL and loyalty is hard to come by these days. So there must have been some sort of a significant punishment for Commander Cody for not shooting at that governor. And that is basically the end of the episode. We do not see or touch on or even hint at any of the rest of the Bad Batch. It is strictly a Crosshair episode.
Yeah. One thing I want to add on there too, because I didn't want to put it in a second ago because it would mess up the timeline of the episode. The one other thing that I was going to mention about it is that we really, and I apologize if you said this, it's kind of a small thing in the episode. We get to really see the dynamic between Crosshair and his other clone companions that are now, following the Empire. We see, when Crosshair wakes up every morning and the process of getting breakfast and stuff. And it seems that when he sits with the other clones, they don't want to be around him. So he has something about him that the others don't like. Obviously, he is more enhanced. He has, more capabilities. But I will say, just because I don't know if Sarah was going to interject this or not, but Sarah made an interesting observation after we were watching, and she asked me, "Why do you think Crosshair hasn't changed his armor? Why is he not looking like the other people?" And honestly, that could be a part of it. It could be like a symbolism of, he's different and they don't like it. And so I think with him keeping his original armor, he's recognizable, of course, from what he was in the past. That was, I think, pretty sure that's what he had from the very beginning, if not given from the Empire. But
The
uh,
helmet, I believe, is at least the same because it still has that scope that swings down.
yeah, so those are the couple other very, very small, but again, connecting us to kind of our world. What does an alarm clock look like? What does breakfast look like for these guys? So um,
It
it's
reminded me very much of a prison.
yeah, I would say kind of like that.
Didn't the bed did not look comfortable, the room did not look inviting or cozy or homey in any form. It
Well,
was very like metal walls and whatnot. I'm not expecting it to be some cabin in the woods kind of a retreat, but at least to have a comfortable bed, that'd be nice.
well, don't forget, we remember from season one that Tarkin said that the Empire is cutting their budget, so these people are not going to have Tempur-Pedics all over the place. So they probably got the cheapest cot available.
What did you think of the episode?
I thought this episode was great. I it was interesting to see that none of the other Bad Batch was involved. Um, I don't want to make very many comparisons, but I feel like this is what I needed to see as far as the Empire and feeling like Star Wars. Because I know we talked a lot about that kind of stuff with the Andor show. Um, but I felt more with this one, just with the way that Cody was talking, just that little segment that Cody was talking to Crosshair about, it made the people in the Empire feel human. They didn't feel like they were just mindlessly, uh, you know, being destructive and terrorizing people of the galaxy. They're actually people that are underneath those helmets, and they're not all just terrible. So I thought it was cool to see that dynamic. It was purely Crosshair's side of the Bad Batch, so the tone of the episode was much darker. Um, Again, we talked about, how dark do these shows need to be to get the point across, and I think this was the perfect blend. They showed, you know, Crosshair where he's at. We kind of knew him as the hardball from last season, and there might be a little bit of a more human side of him growing, and so it's cool to see his arc bloom in that sense. I
And at the
also,
same time, he shut out the governor.
yeah, but his growing happened after that. I think he had to see what Cody was doing to, like, because Cody was his peer. He was part of the Empire. We saw in Revenge of the Sith, that Cody was full blown Order 66. He tried to kill Kenobi, but he was unsuccessful. So he wasn't a questionable person in the Empire, so to speak. And I think because it's not the people that Crosshair grew up with, it's not these people where you could say something to him and then he's just gonna think of it for the 1 second and then blow it off the next. It's a completely different situation. Your friends are gone. There's these people that you're supposed to be listening to and respecting, and they're being different than you expect. So I think that's hitting him a little bit differently. It's a more human connection, so to speak.
Kind
Um,
of spin that a new way. The way that I'm seeing it is I think he's getting disgruntled for not having enough power. Let's just go through his typical day from this episode. He wakes up to an alarm clock of the Empire, right? Not necessarily when he wants to get up, but he's waking up to somebody else telling him it's time to get up. He goes to breakfast and gets interrupted, saying he has to report to the commander. So having to interrupt his breakfast because somebody else is telling him to go somewhere. Then he goes to, or I'm sorry, the vice admiral. He goes to the vice admiral, and at first he wants to be in charge of this mission, and he gets told, no, you're going to report to somebody else because we don't trust you yet. So again, he's not getting his way. Um, then even after he goes through this mission and he's successful and does a very good job with it, you can tell he's asking, why not Commander Cody for my next mission? Because obviously he wants to be with Commander Cody, and he gets told no again because he has to be with somebody else. So we continuously see him not getting his way and getting more and more not maybe not more and more agitated, but he
his
doesn't
freedoms are
show
restricted.
he doesn't show a whole lot of emotion because that's just his character. But if you put yourself in his shoes, these are a lot of things building to somebody not being very happy with what's going on and wanting to be in charge.
Yeah, I can see it from that point of view. Um, kind of going along again with the um, not what you expected it to be. It's not what he was promised, I don't think either, because in season one he was supposed to, lead the new top-notch soldiers, and here he is expendable. So, um, yeah. There was the other side of the episode too. I mean, that's a very, very small part of the episode, and it's probably what I thought was the best part. But the other stuff was really cool too, and that was, them raiding the fortress and rescuing the governor with very, very cool action sequences. I really liked how they filmed leading up to Crosshair shooting into the barrel of the tank, because he doesn't just do it right away. You kind of see that he has this idea of it, and when I was watching it, I was kind of like, that'd be kind of a cool thing to experiment with. What will happen if he shoots down the barrel of the tank? And they do a couple of times where uh, you think they're going to do it next, but he's still just kind of honing in on where his shot's going to be. So you kind of get a little bit more of a tease. And then when you finally see it, it's really cool. All the big explosion and whatnot. Um, One other thing that I thought was interesting about this episode, and it kind of brought some light to a situation. If you follow this channel, we do Black Series figures, and we covered not too long ago that there was some figures for Jedi Survivor that are already out, and one of those figures was a battle droid, and I was kind of wondering, well, how are they going to fit this into the game? Like, I thought that stuff was over, and this episode of the show just kind of brings to light, well, there's probably still some independent systems with a handful of droids. And maybe, I don't know if necessarily this is the planet that we're going to visit, but something similar I could see happening with the game. So uh, we'll find out in 2 months, because it's coming out soon. What do you think?
I thought the episode was pretty good. I know I sometimes have a hard time with when they go back and forth between two very different settings. Like if they were to do an episode with the main Bad Batch group and then interjecting uh through scene transitions going back to what Crosshair's doing. I liked that they took an entire episode to really just focus on him and be able to give us, a more meaty plot to what's going on and a better character development than just these little 2-minute clips here and there spread out throughout an episode. Um, it was intriguing enough and interesting enough that I'd wanted to keep watching, and I didn't really find myself during the episode wondering, I wonder what the rest of the Bad Batch group is doing, because I wanted to know what else was happening with this episode and what was going to happen next to Crosshair. Um, so from that standpoint, I feel like the episode was executed pretty well.
Yeah, I feel like with season one, seeing, what Crosshair was doing, it was kind of like, not I enjoy the Bad Batch group. Crosshair, I was kind of thinking like, as in he I didn't care as much about him in the first season after the first couple episodes.
He hadn't really been given enough light or enough attention.
Yeah, well, it's because he's clouded in darkness. But this episode made me feel for him, and it was interesting because I felt like the first two episodes of this season didn't hit as hard as, well, it weren't as fire, quote unquote, as season one's. But seeing this episode, I'm like, give me some more of that show. I think they hit it on part three, so I'm excited to see what happens in the future. I don't know what will happen, but something tells me that maybe Crosshair will join back up with the group and sacrifice himself. That's my guess. Somehow, some way, I think he's going to save his brothers, and the Empire is going to kill him for it. That's my guess.
An interesting prediction.
I wouldn't put it past being the guy from was it the second? Yeah, the end of the second episode when he killed a clone because the clone wanted to write the correct report and he wanted to write his own version of the report. I bet that guy would do it.
Was that the same admiral that was giving him orders in this episode?
I was wondering that myself. I couldn't figure it out. I want to say yes, but I don't know 100%.
It looked a lot like him.
Yeah. So maybe there's a good chance. We'll find out
If
later on, I
if
suppose.
you know, put it in the comments.
Yeah, put it in the comments. I mean, I guess we could go back and rewatch it, but uh can't put it. I don't want to take all that time to edit and come back, but we'll see. I think it was looked like him, maybe. Anything else you want to talk about for this episode?
No, I feel like that about wraps it up.
Cool. Well, like we said, this was a pretty good episode. I'm excited to see what happens coming up, especially with Crosshair. Seeing this dynamic that's happening with him. Um, Obviously, I want to see more of the other Bad Batch people too. But we'll just have to see what is in store for the season. So if you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. That way you are notified when more of these videos drop. Please drop us a like if you liked the video and drop us a comment letting us know your thoughts on the Bad Batch Season 2, Episode 3. And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.